Hey, everybody, this is Brent from The Second Look. And this evening I have the pleasure of speaking with Kat Sigalas. Kat, so great to
Hello.
meet you.
Lovely to meet you too.
You're talking to me at 4:30 in the morning, and I appreciate your dedication to this.
Thank
You've
you.
gone above and beyond the call of duty here. So you're in England. Tell me, I guess, well, we can just start there. Very curious about filmmakers in other places, that aren't LA, New York, or even in the States. Obviously, are you in London?
Yes, I'm currently in London.
Okay.
I
So
tend to shift between Athens and London a lot.
okay. Well, then I want to ask about Athens as well, but let's start with London. What's it like being a filmmaker in London?
Well, how to even actually explain that? So I went to film school here. I went to Met Film School, and I don't think it's too much different than any other place. With that being said, I've never been to LA, so I can't really say how it is there.
Mhm.
Uh, but it's actually a really lovely place. It has a lot of very collaborative meetups, groups, clubs, and a lot of great events. I am really lucky to be an associate member of Directors UK as well, which is kind of like the union of the directors here, and
Okay.
they have really lovely ways to kind of like proceed and go up, some mentorships and all of that stuff. And obviously now we have the LFF, London Film Festival, which is absolutely beautiful. By the way, I
Mhm.
have a really funny story with because I really struggled to get tickets to.
Okay.
Literally, I did everything I could to become a member, only for all the tickets to be gone. Yeah, I know, but I managed to get an 11 a.m. ticket next week to Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, which
Oh,
I'm
great.
so excited. But the funny thing is that I forgot that actually forgot to check the Directors UK page because they have some events, and they actually had one with where with like Q&A from Guillermo, and I saw it. I was like, but I already missed that, and I was like, oh no, I forgot
Uh,
to even check. But no, there's a lot of there's a really lovely community, and I feel like they've been quite helpful as well. It's one of those things that also like the more events you go, you meet more and more people, and then you kind of meet the same people as well. So it
mhm.
kind of forms into a nice little group eventually.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I mean, kind of the vibe around here in LA is like there's a ton of people that we're all trying to get in. We're all trying to work. We're all trying to meet each other. Seems like there are events and there's a community. The other problem with LA is that it's like really spread out geographically. So like
Oh,
getting around and getting to places where these events are can be a struggle. So it kind of limits our mobility in a lot of
yeah.
ways.
I, I can imagine a lot of car traffic. A lot.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah.
Even if it's like, 10 miles away, it's gonna take you 45 minutes to get there, in
Oof.
traffic, and yeah, it just kind of bums everybody out to the point where we just gotta stay home and, figure something else out to do for the evening.
No, I feel that for us here, at least for me, my day job is from home, so I already am home quite a lot. But
Yeah.
my personal issue is TFL, which is just transportation. It's the London Tube and everything, which is great because I don't drive, nor do I want to drive. I will eventually have to drive, but that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
But the having to deal with London transportation is also a really tough thing because
Mm,
there's strikes, there's delays, and we're more or less an hour away from everything. At least I am.
okay. Alright. So maybe there are some
I'd say it's quite more similar to New York,
yeah.
London, I think.
Yeah, right. So maybe the city itself is more concentrated than
Mm,
in LA, let's say, but still getting around can take a while,
yeah.
even with ample transportation. Okay. Well, tell me, let's go back. You went to film school, but I want to start before that. Like, what made you even consider film school? Like, when did that become an idea for you?
It depends how far back you want to go. So, I think more or less everything started because when I was in high school, I went to like my school's film club,
Okay.
and I didn't expect that I would go there, even though I was quite film obsessed even then. And at the time, we were primarily acting in like short films primarily that the teacher was directing. And a few times I went behind the camera. But that, funnily enough, led me to pursue acting more than directing. And I then started acting at 14. Yeah, and I did some roles here and there. Got my first agent as well. That was back in Athens. And then I decided to go to London to pursue acting first. I went to drama school.
Mm,
And when I was in drama school, I got the chance to direct. And COVID happened. And by that point, I had only directed theater. And obviously, nothing went as everyone kind of expected.
right.
Everyone was kind of closed off. Theater was not I think at that point we were forced to do Zoom Shakespeare, which don't do Zoom Shakespeare. That don't no.
That doesn't sound good.
No, it's worse than it sounds, which is already sounds pretty bad. And I was like, okay, we're home. I was living with my housemates at the time as well. I started getting really into film as well with my partner, so we got into a point where we're just buying film equipment
Mm,
out of a hobby type of thing. And slowly but surely, we actually acquired a good set of equipment. Like we got a dolly one day, not a great dolly, but a dolly nonetheless.
sure.
Tripods, camera, everything, and we started filming.
Mm,
And that was the birth of a studio we made at the time, me and my partner and another collaborator friend of ours. And then it just kind of spread. So from 2020 to 2021, we started like filming for other people. We did a Remax commercial somewhere there. And yeah, and from that, I decided I wanted to go to film school, and then I did. So it's you never expect where you're gonna go, so here I am.
no, that's great. I mean, you were had equipment, you were making stuff, you were making commercials before you even went to film school, so it's kind of an opposite
Yeah,
situation.
it was a weird thing because I also didn't and 100% know what I was doing. Basically, before I went to school, the way we learned was primarily through YouTube videos and random tutorials and a lot of practice.
Mhm.
We also did photography as well, and the commercials we got was usually from like high street stuff. I don't know if you have a similar thing, but basically like some high streets here, and they have like all the shops, and
Mhm.
basically just so happened that kind of word spread, and it was a branch of Remax, and they were like, "Hey, we're looking to do just like a local network
Yeah.
thing." Uh, Obviously we weren't charging how much at the time, so they were like, "You good?" I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." So it's
Yeah.
kinda like that.
I mean, there's something to be said about people who aren't deterred, aren't, intimidated by just jumping into something like that and just doing it and learning on the fly and teaching yourself. And so you're clearly very self-motivated. It helps having partners, I'm sure, motivating
Oh,
each other, kind of creating this momentum for yourselves. But yeah, it's really impressive. Congratulations on that already. I mean, that's a
thanks.
great start.
Yeah, it was nice. Yeah, and then went to film school, and then, here I am, but yeah.
Okay. How was film school for you?
It was good. It was a master's, so it was just 1 year.
Okay.
It was great. I try to joke a lot about my transportation to film school sometimes because, well, I couldn't move out of the house and the school was on the other side of London. So, especially at the time, I took the entirety of a particular line, which is the central line here, which is also the oldest line.
Mm.
So we're joking about me being here at 4:30. My my great routine at the time was I would wake up at 6 every day, go to the station, and I had trained myself to have my coffee ready, fall asleep through half the line, wake up on a particular time and drink my coffee because that was the only way I could be awake at 9 a.m. where
Oh, wow.
school started.
Wow.
Which is an interesting part of training that I never expected to do. But besides that, it was really lovely. I really appreciated the teachers I had. Obviously, some are better than others, but
Yeah,
that's what you get with school regardless. But
right.
what I got primarily from there, which I think it's generally the case from when you go to film school, is the collaborators. that you get because we did so many projects one after the other. And after a certain point, you figure out who you gel with more, who you
Yeah.
trust more. And it's not necessarily like who's a good person, who's a bad person. It's more about like the chemistry you have as collaborators. And yeah, that was it. And the people that I met there, I still work with, which is really great.
Mhm.
And then God forgive me, because I had already my group and I had to bring them to Greece, to my home island. That was a bit. I literally had to bring all of them there, which was not very interesting. Uh, yeah, very interesting
Yeah.
across the world. It was for me.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I mean, I definitely wanna talk about that movie and how you shot it and how it all went and everything. But yeah, just going back to your point about film school being this cultivator of your team
Mm,
and the people that you learn from, that you work with, that you stay connected with. That seems to be, especially these days, like that seems to be one of the biggest draws for film school. 50 years ago, film school was, I want to make a film. They're the only people that have like equipment that I can use. And you can't just buy a camera or use your phone, or there's just like the equipment was a huge draw, plus the collaborators, the connections, whatever. But these days you have a film, if you have a phone, you have a film studio in your pocket. But the film school provides you things that you can't usually get or very easily get on your own. So overall, you would recommend people go to film school?
I mean, I can and I can't. I would and I wouldn't. Primarily because everyone learns differently, and I can't recommend people to do something that ultimately costs a lot. And it depends on what you need. For me, even though I had learned a lot of things on my own, I'm the type of person that generally feels like I need an instructor, and I like being taught on that way
Hmm.
because I feel like I have certain those forms of support. But I do have to say you don't have to, and I don't want to be a person that says that you have to. If you're like me, 100% recommend it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's totally valid because there, yeah, everyone's a different type of learner. Some are
Mm,
visuals, some just need to hear people talk about it, or some can watch a video and can
mm,
get it, but some need in-class instruction. I know me personally, I need assignments, I need deadlines, I need
yeah.
somebody to give me that structure. But yeah, it's not required. There's plenty of examples of people who have totally made it without any of that. Okay. So tell me, I want to talk about God Forgive Me. This is a short film you wrote and directed. Tell me where this idea came from and or where the project came from.
So okay. I struggle starting to talk about projects, and that's usually how it goes. But
Mhm.
yeah, so the project kind of started from the passing of my father. Just to be very clear, my relationship with my father is not like in the movie, just to make this abundantly clear.
'Kay.
But it was a really big thing of like my father passed quite fast,
Mm,
and I was actually in film school when that happened. And it's a very shocking thing of when it happens and how things go because they move really fast
mm.
and there's a really intense sequence of
Where you
events that you don't really realize what's going on and what happened, and the shock is really intense. And basically it was that grief and also feeling detached sometimes of the world that I used to know
mm,
because I left Greece when I was quite young. Well, I was 17, nearing 18, but it's still quite young because like all my adult life I've been in London.
mm.
And after a certain point, when you're kind of like a person of two worlds, you kind of adapt a lot of things from the new world you're in, so you don't fully gel with the people that you've grown up with. And there's a really big sense of dislocation on that regard. So it's been something that had been brewing ever since that whole experience. That's when I thought of the story of Irida. And she is very much same as me. She's a child of two worlds on that regard. She has her own relationship and life in London, but she has and whatever's left of her in Greece is a house. It's just
Yeah.
a house now that her father passed away and she already had a really bad relationship with her family. So the questions I started asking was what is tradition? What is ethnicity? What is all of that? And how do you do when the place you grew up in doesn't feel like they can support you, but at the same time, there's still tradition holding you back, and there's still family holding you back, and
Yeah.
yeah, what decision do you make? Do you just erase everything? You can't just erase it, which is why I thought of the story of like, well, I've experienced the Greek crisis firsthand as
Mhm.
a kid, and I know a lot of families. My family specifically has also gone through debt issues, and that's why I came up with the story of her basically losing her father and at the same time being told, "Hey, you have a choice. You either have to sell your family home and your family on that regard." Um, Otherwise, excuse my language, you're screwed. And that's just the turmoil was, I thought was something that had a story that had to be told.
Okay. Wow. I'll say that I watched this movie before I talked to you, before I knew any of that, right?
Mm,
But I could tell I mean, a lot of what you're saying lines up for me in what I was seeing and what was coming across to me. I could tell even before I saw the credits and I saw that you had dedicated it to, I guess that will be your father.
mm,
I could feel that this story had a personal connection and
mm,
that this film was somewhat autobiographical. It could have been more abstracted, but it sounds like it was pretty one to one. And I think what that means for me is that it should be a compliment to you for bringing like such a personal story to the screen and have the emotions, the experience, you know, the experience of the characters in that world, but also the experience of the viewer to to feel kind of real, you know, real, to feel
mm.
genuine, to feel like there are actual there's like substance and depth to these things, you know, and that not everyone this is not a negative for anyone who's making a short film that has none of that, you know,
Of course
autobiographical
not.
stuff to it.
Oh, yeah.
That's not what I'm saying. But just it's not easy to take that personal stuff and translate it, transmute it through your work to someone like me who has no idea what's going on. So it's just very layered. There's a lot of nuance there. There's a lot of I don't know. You got some great actors in this
Oh,
thing
yeah, they're lovely.
and they could feel that so that they're great actors but it's also coming through your direction I think and in your script so you're channeling through them and then the location tell me
Mm-mm.
about that because
Uh,
you teased it earlier but
so that's my family home.
okay
That's actually my generational family home.
okay
From my grandma's side, to be honest, it was a really massive inspiration for as I was writing it. That house has a lot of history. It was built around the early 1800s. It was at the time it was literally just like a place for horses to
mm,
exist, and slowly it got built and it got built more and more, and it's in a very remote village in my home island Andros, and it's also attached to a kind of field. Basically my family members just lived there, you know. It's truly a family home because like you know, parents, grandparents, grandkids,
yeah
great great grandparents would live together there, and yeah, and they would just live off the land at that over there, and which is also a big inspiration, as I said earlier. And
mhm.
the really funny thing that we even joked on set about, to be honest, I joked maybe a little bit too much because I low-key scared my cinematographer because obviously old homes creak a lot, and yeah, we sure had ghosts all the time on it, like the extras and everything. But he would started getting really scared on the creaky sounds, and I'd be like, "I, you know, that's just my uncle." Uh, he'd be like, "Cat, stop." In the film, if you see the background of the main entrance, and you see some pictures and some paintings in the back, that's my
yeah
great 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 grand.
yeah
Yeah.
I mean I I didn't want to discredit your set designer, your set decorator, you know, your locations manager, and just assume that this was all put together and set dressed and everything. But it looks so much like a real place with real history, with a lived in place. And yeah, the photos on the wall, I saw those, and,
Yep.
like, you can't I don't know, you can. If you have the budget and the time, you could fake that, right? You could have
Mm.
built that on a soundstage or something, right? But I guess my point is when you have something like that, when you have that resource, there's your production value was, like, way up here just because it's a real place and it
Yeah.
looks you can I don't know, you could kinda feel it. So the lesson here that I'm taking from you and your work that I would like to pass on to anyone watching is, to try and find existing locations that
Yeah.
have that quality of it being a real place. It doesn't have to be old necessarily, although it helps, but just embracing what you have and getting the most out of it and crafting your story, your film around those things so to take full advantage, which it
Yeah.
sounds exactly like what you did.
Yeah, and you feel the energy. That's also the thing. You really feel
Mm,
the energy as you do it. And to be honest, we felt it even more because all the cast and crew lived there as we were filming there. So we had no real escape from it. But it
yeah.
was also quite nice as well because we really were immersed into it.
Can I ask you about the budget for something like this? Because you said you had to transport everybody from London?
Did. Yes, yes, we did. So our cast and crew was from all over the place. We had people from Hong Kong. Our cinematographer was from Hong Kong. Our producer was Mexican, and my first AD was British. So we literally had people from absolutely everywhere. Their base was London. But we obviously couldn't afford tickets from Hong Kong. I
Right.
don't think that could have been the case. The budget overall was, should I say it? The
You don't
actual,
you
yeah.
don't have to give me a number, but curious about, I guess, maybe the fundraising, like, how you came up
That
with that?
was that was an interesting thing because it was my first time applying for funds.
Mm,
It was 100% funded from the Greek funds,
okay.
which I never had to do. Our biggest sponsor and producer, the Andros Festival, was the most helpful out of everyone. We have an arts theater and cinema festival in that island. I approached the producer and I was like, "Hey, I want to make a movie here." I already had the script ready at that point. I had the
Mm,
treatment ready at that point, and she's very lovely. She was like, "Cool, I like this. Can you give me the budget?" And it was also my first time making a budget. I did it first with a friend of mine that was that's a producer, and she helped me a lot. Thank you, Yana. And then I kind of like prepped it as much as I could to decrease the amount as much as I could, basically make it just bare bones, and
yeah.
gave it to her. And basically, she was like, "Yeah, I want to help you." They didn't give the entirety of the budget, but what they also did is help us with their sponsors, which was so helpful because then we got fast ferries involved. So all our cast and crew got free tickets from Athens to Andros, which was an immense help. It cut so much out of the budget, so things got a lot easier there too. And then I approached local art foundations, which was great because like they primarily helped visual arts, so events with like galleries and stuff, and they were really happy to help out a project such as this. But that was out of necessity. I had to put on myself, but then I managed to take back from the donations from from that funding. And yeah, it was kind of like an accumulation of everything as well as the sponsors and donations that they gave, like obviously the tickets. And yeah, they also donated us a car as well at some point. Yeah, they were overall, we very much relied on the community,
Yeah.
which was really good. And what shocks a lot of people is that the ghosts are actually local villagers
Mm.
that go to from their club, their drama club, and we literally put up an ad and they just showed up, and yeah, and they were the ghosts, which was really lovely. So it was very much a community based project in that regard, which was really great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's lovely. Okay, that's great. I love that story, and I think it's a great reminder for people looking for funds that there are programs like the ones you're describing based on like location, right? Like that there it's
Yeah.
often very like almost like connected to like the tourist board, right? Like people that have like They want to attract people to that area. There might be a tourism board that would offer some money to showcase the place because they want people to come, and people
Mhm.
come when they see it in a beautiful film like this, and they want to go.
Yeah, I'd say definitely trust your surroundings, especially like wherever you're from, like the people around you, the places around you, a lot of the times can help more than you think. Especially because I feel like a lot of artists who don't live in like New York, London, the big places, are like, oh, I live in the middle of nowhere, there's no one's gonna help me. Sometimes the more local places are more willing to help. Because for one thing, they like the smaller the place I feel, obviously I don't know all the places in the world,
Right.
are more willing to help within the community and they're more excited to be part of something. Yeah, and also it doesn't hurt to ask. And if you don't ask, you're not gonna get anything. It's also the thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's huge with me. I ask for stuff all the time, and all they can say is no. Like,
Yeah,
there's no real downside and only upside if they say yes, or maybe they say, "Well, I can't help you, but like you described, I can help you a little bit, but actually I know this person who could help."
exactly.
And suddenly you have all your ducks in a row and you're set.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, you're right. I think there is something to be said about the most random people or areas, or the smaller the place, the more willing they are to help. That part of it is in my theory, small town people are just friendlier in general,
Yeah.
and they have that kind of community built into them, that
Yeah,
sense of
exactly.
community.
Yeah, the differently friendlier, and I feel like because the communications tends to be smaller, like for Andrew specifically, it's more common to go to someone's house and be like, "Hey, do you want to like do something?" And it's not
Mhm.
like when you're in a city and you like for example with a friend of mine that I met earlier today or yesterday, sorry, it's for we're really good friends, but last time I saw her was like 7 months ago because like that's the rigidness of being in like a city.
Mhm.
Um, and you just have to wait, and then everything is tough because everyone's working and everything's so far away and all of that. When you're in a small community, in a village, in an island, all of that, then you
Yeah.
literally like go across the street, say, "Hey, want to grab a coffee?" and then you're done.
Mhm.
There's a much different perception of time and space, which is, to be honest, really lovely.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. So, anyone out there who's like, "I wanna go to this remote place, but who's gonna help me? What's gonna be there? How am I gonna do that over there?" It's possible finding some people there to help. Shooting your film in a specific location just gives that world building a huge head start, right?
Yeah.
You get access to, history, like this old house that has all this history to it. You get and find yourself in a beautiful location, so like it elevates just the aesthetics of your
Yeah.
project. There's just a lot of good reason to film in unconventional settings.
Yes, definitely. There's so much beauty in certain places that are not particularly, they don't have a lot of people. So funny because we have the only scene we didn't film in the house. It was this beach scene, which
Mm,
is from Dream Sequence. It's in the trailer. Um uh
yeah.
the funniest thing is that we did all the post-production in London
Mm,
and we've had a lot of sessions of either doing the sound design and obviously we had it in the cinema because we had to edit in one of the outputs was in 5.1, so I had to like edit it in the cinema at some point and we had different variations of screenings and all of that and the more we did and the more the color grading was getting fixed at the same time. I just kept hearing either from the composer the sound editor, maybe I should go to Greece this year, maybe I should book tickets. And it was especially on that scene every time they're like, this is so pretty. Maybe I should take a break.
mhm. I could see it. It was a very idyllic scene, and
It
it
was yeah.
added to it wasn't just pretty for its own sake, but it was perfectly purposed for that scene. And
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, we've had a few screenings, but my favorite screening was the first private screening we did on the island.
mm,
And it was was really beautiful because so many people, locals, came to watch it,
Mm.
and it was the loudest crowd I have ever experienced in my life because they connected with it.
Yeah.
And that scene has a lot of layers,
Mm.
in the sense of, like, I feel like as a Greek in a lot of ways, we have this whole thing of like, okay, job versus location, weather, food, which
Mhm.
is it's something. Like, for example, I love living in London, but I have a lot of things to say about the food here, and it's not particularly good. um,
Fair.
and when I'm in Greece, I'm like, "Oh, I love Greece," but at the same time, my job is in London, my life is in
Mm.
London, it's all of that.
Yep.
So, what a lot of people even reached out to me about that scene is like, it's so beautiful, it's so idyllic, the beach is great, family's great, all of that's great. And then you have her friend who literally initially just says, "Why are you here? Well, you should, there's nothing here." Which is literally, I think, is the best way to explain that feeling.
Sure. That contrast and that
Mm,
juxtaposition, this perfect setting, she's with her family, it's beautiful, and then you have someone come in and really complicate that
yeah,
scene and that character at that moment to create this turmoil that you described earlier. There's a lot of back and forth with her
mm,
in this movie, and it's really interesting how many layers she has, how many directions she's being pulled. I mean, on top of all the family stuff, there's a horror element at play
yes,
here. You know, there's
yes,
it's scary, and she's afraid of what's happening. You know, like physically and like maybe metaphysically. You know, it's like there's she's being put through so many situations and emotions and experiences in this really compact it's like a day that we see, like,
yeah.
right, like 24 hours or something, like
Yeah,
from
it's
start
it's
to
the
finish.
day before the funeral. That's
Yeah,
the best way I wanted to put it, yeah.
yeah, and you can tell she's really, I mean, I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, but yeah, by the end, where we leave her makes total sense based on
Yeah.
what we've seen and how things play out for her. It may not be um, what you expected or what you wanted or what we think of when we think of movies like this, because I think what's really interesting too, and now that I'm just thinking about it, what you're playing with here isn't necessarily a brand new story. I think there are this kind of pull between two different worlds, a generational pull, and what we as individuals have to decide how we proceed with our own life. You know, these things are very universal.
Yeah.
But the compliment for you is that I did not feel any of those cliches. You know, I did not feel
Thank
like
you.
you were just, "Oh, I have to do this scene and then she has to say this," because that's what people expect. I think you forged a really interesting path through this kind of minefield for a person at this crossroads. You made it really compelling.
I really wanted to replicate the sequence that I was telling later because, like, from learning the news to the actual funeral, it's such a the feeling of time is not the same. That's the best way I can put it. It feels
Yeah.
fuzzy, and there's usually like a section of lack of sleep as well,
Yep.
especially when you travel to visit there. Such um on occasion. So I wanted to have that feeling, that eerie, oh, there's so many things you need to do. Time is moving weird. You have no idea what's going on, what is real, what isn't real. And kind of I really wanted to replicate that. And the horror aspect, I honestly didn't think that there was any other way to do it
Mm.
because I wanted to showcase how scary and painful grief is, but at the same time, what I love about ghosts is I was never really scared of them because they're still people and they're still for her their family. But what I love about these ghosts is that they're both scary and family on that regard.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, yeah.
what they bring is the intimidating factor that is actually family.
Yeah.
Because I I feel like in a lot of our lives, they're a big factor of like, do they accept me? Do they love me? I
Okay.
don't wanna disappoint them, they're still part of me, and that's the scariest part of it because in a way, what she's also scared of when she sees them is she is going to disappoint them because she is gonna give them away because she also doesn't have another choice in some form or another.
I love that. I love that what you just said. As a I'm more of a film studies person. When I was in film school, I was in like the film studies track, it's more academic stuff, less production stuff, even though I did some of that too. But so what you just were just describing there is sweet for my film studies brain, right? Because specifically horror is what I studied, and
Nice.
what you're talking about, like using the genre and the iconography of the horror film, specifically the ghosts, the makeup, the I guess I'll call them props that the character is handling at in the very first scene, for
Uh
example. You know, horror is the perfect vehicle for ideas and
Mm,
getting ideas through to an audience that would otherwise feel forced or awkward, or it would feel too on the nose. So horror is a way to kind of disguise these things and still get your point across. And I think what you're describing, the fear that she's experiencing has nothing to do with ghosts, but it has everything to do with what those people, what those ghosts represent. And so the ghost is a metaphor, and this is how you create really interesting, compelling movies, is when you are able to I don't know, provide a less than obvious message, and and you can weave it in there, you can leave it for people to figure out on their own. So I don't think I don't know. You tell me. But was that like a really conscious thing? Like, or was that just, it just felt more natural, like more intuitive to do it that way?
Honestly, it was part of the writing. It felt that way when I was writing it,
Mm,
because, I'm a big, Mike Flanagan fan,
mm.
and, both oh god, I'm blanking on the other it's Blight House Manor and the other one,
Like Haunting of Hill House? Is
Hunting
that
of
what
Hill House, but primarily Hunting of, Hill House was a big inspiration
Yeah.
for me in that regard, and I love the different messaging and how the ghosts kind of like worked on it, and I really like to be honest, I really love Mike Flanagan's writing on that regard and the way he writes horror and how personal it can be. And
Yeah.
in my opinion, that's the kind of horror I love. I've always been a massive horror fan,
Mm.
and I was actually really upset when around twins with the level of horror that was coming out because like historically we've had Psycho, we've had really great horror movies that were quite thought provoking and everything. And not to say anything bad about the 2010s horror movies, there were some really great ones, but they were primarily based off of jump scares.
Right.
And I really like when horror can be thought provoking
Yeah.
because I feel like it's one of the movies, the genres that people tend to connect with a lot for a multitude of reasons. I feel like being scared is, I don't know, something very, I don't know, I don't want to say being scared is something human, but well, it is, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
Um,
we're all afraid of something. We're all, whether it be a spider like me, I'm afraid of spiders, but it could also be something, you know, more existential. You know, we're afraid of,
mm,
you know, what we're doing with our lives and what does it mean, and are we doing the right thing, and are we good people, and you know, there's those kinds of concerns.
yeah,
But no matter what your what where the source is, we all know what that feeling is like. So
yeah,
you
and I
can
feel like things
translate it.
get a lot scarier and more real when it's something you can connect. This year has been one of my favorite years in terms of movies as well
Mm,
because, like, we've had some really amazing horror films,
I agree.
that bring that. I don't know if you would like me to, like, say some of my for example, like, the Filippo brothers' Bring Her Back was one of the best movies I have seen this year. I don't know if you've seen it. I definitely
I
recommend it.
I haven't seen that one. I finally watched, was it Talk to Her? Was that what it's called?
Yes, that was also from them. Yeah. No, they're
I
great.
did see that one, but I haven't seen Bring Her Back yet. Was it good?
It's amazing, and it also tackles with grief. I'm not gonna say anything more, but
Okay.
what I loved about it is how they made something really real. The scariest part is like because the scariest part also is human nature, I
Yeah.
definitely say. Um I don't know, with that movie what they managed to do is like don't get me wrong, the villain of the story is not particularly likable and they do some very despicable things, but at the same time I was like I see I I see why you did it. And I
Right.
think that's the best type of writing and creating and it's
Yeah.
very scary, but it makes sense why it's scary and it's rooted into real human behavior, which I think
Mm,
makes it so good.
mm. Okay. That's great. Now I have to see it. I'm intrigued. Very curious about the sound design and the music in this thing.
Mm,
Was really effective. Can you
what?
talk to me about your what was the plan? How did it get executed? How did it turn out for you?
So it has a lot of layers on it. I was when I was first writing it, I was very 50-50 on what I could do with the mom and how I could portray the mom. Because also with the actors, because we had a lot of meetings, we didn't have a lot of rehearsals, but we did have a lot of meetings discussing the characters, and we actually had an entire storyline of what happened to them, what the family was like, and everything. And the mom was something I actually obviously I wrote her before I met with him. I wanted to have her as very much as an ethereal presence, as
Mhm,
a person that she died when Ada was relatively younger, and she has a very sweet version of her. I have always known and collaborated with the actress Pavlina, who's a really lovely singer and an actor, and I've gone to see a lot of her shows, and when I realized that, I immediately thought, "Okay, we need to have Pavlina. There's no way we can't have her," and which was absolutely perfect. And there's a particular song that we're using at some particular point, which I think was one of the things that you're referring to, which is an old lullaby that we
mm,
changed. And it was actually that wasn't the initial song we are gonna use. It was really hard to decide. Me, Pavlina, and the composer Samuel J.R. Morgan, who's absolutely I've only worked with him so far, and
mm,
one of the best collaborators I ever had. We were discussing what we could use. The first song what that we used was a song about Persephone. Was well, obviously underworld and all of that. It kind of made sense, but we could we really struggled to find ways to get it. So it was like, okay, so we found this one, and I feel like it worked more
mm,
because it's one of the oldest songs, oldest lullabies, and yeah, we just played a lot with it before we even started filming. The recording of it was done far before we started rolling because obviously it's a song, so we had to have it as a playback anyway.
mm,
And yeah, just the creation of that brought the whole project into play. And yeah, that's for my yeah. And with the rest of the music, Sam is just brilliant. And I also worked with a wonderful sound designer, Jan Sigsworth. I always say their names, and they're one of the collaborators that I met whilst I was in film school. They weren't my classmates, which is quite funny because they both went on different schools, but I met them then, and we worked together on my student film, and then we just kept on working together, and
mm. Okay.
hopefully keep on working together.
Yeah. That's great. No, you really had some in addition to yourself, a lot of talented people that came together for this thing, and I think it
Yeah,
really
I'm very grateful for the team. I am beyond grateful for the team.
yeah. No, that's always great. I just remember something that I wanted to come back to. Earlier, you were talking about like time being fuzzy and
Mm,
not feeling so solid, and you wanted to get that across. And that is also something I noticed. You have some really kind of abstract, displacing edits. Where it's like, oh, now we're here, and what is this the same day? Is this a dream? Is this what's happening here? So there's the editing, but also something I noticed too, a motif you had of like focus, like literal focus,
yeah,
like something's out of focus, something's in focus, rack focusing.
mhm.
Was that also part of that, like dislocation, disorienting thing that you're going for?
Yeah, I like playing a lot with focus. I like playing a lot with where we're going, what we're doing, and the time of day as well. Because without saying too much, we go literally through an entire day. We start relatively morning-ish, then we kind of like move around the day after they kind of clean, and uh then there's kind of like a dream sequence, but the dream sequence kind of happens and you're not entirely sure whether it is a dream sequence or not a dream
Yeah,
sequence. And that was very, and then suddenly it's night, but I wanted to do that because I wanted to give that feel of like you never really know what's going on and you never really know if it's a dream or not because that is the actual feeling that you
yeah.
have when you're going through this. You don't know what's night, you don't know what's day, you don't know who you're meeting next, you don't know where you are, what you're doing, how to feel. So it's this is literally the feeling that I wanted to showcase.
Well, you succeeded. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, you really did. You took something really difficult to even talk about, let alone explain, an experience that has all these things going on, all these layers to it, all these conflicts and juxtapositions and stuff. And you used many tools at your disposal to get this experience across. So that
Um,
from the camera work, the focus, the editing, the sound design, all of that contributes in a way that gets exactly what you're describing across. So I mean, that's pretty that's pretty great. That's pretty special, and
yeah.
I hope you're proud of it because you should
I'm
be.
very proud of it. I'm
Yeah,
very I look back on it. We had a screening in London around July. Yeah, it was around July, and it was such a beautiful thing. When we showed it, just looking at it, and we obviously we've spread out in terms of crew. Some people have left London, some people are still here, some people are in Athens, some people are in Andros. Obviously, we're quite scattered. So some people have managed to watch in different times, and I managed to watch it with some of the London crew. And it's just beautiful seeing it, seeing what we've done, and seeing people's reception to it a lot. Also, something that got brought up that I didn't expect on that Q&A is people seeing the connection that it has to Greek tragedies,
mm,
because I also structured it after a Greek tragedy.
wow,
Yeah, I actually structured it after the Troads, which is a Greek tragedy of the Trojan women kind of mourning the loss of Troy. But I only did it as a baseline structure.
yeah, yeah,
And what I like about tragedy is that you kind of know how this is gonna end up, but you're
yeah,
still there for the ride anyway.
right, right.
So it was really interesting because one of the people that watched in the Q&A was an academic on like classics and started asking me all about it. And I was like, oh, I never even thought that you would notice this because I don't talk about it. I was like, okay, I love that.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, no, I can feel that. Like you want you're to have somebody get into your work like that and bring it up, especially like in a Q&A situation where it's like I don't know, it makes you. I could just feel the how it made you feel. Like I could understand that would be a
Yeah,
good feeling. Well, yes, Kat, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on this movie.
thank
Very
you.
happy to talk to you. Very excited to see what you have next. Do you have a project lined up?
Uh, Nothing official yet. I have a few stuff lined up, but nothing yet. I have a fashion film that I'm going to be releasing relatively soonish in
Hmm,
festivals, and that's it.
okay. And for those of you watching who are now have to be 100% intrigued by this movie, it's in the festival circuit now, like Kat explained to me earlier. So there will be eventually a link to this
Yes.
movie on the description for this video if you want to watch it. It'll just say coming soon until it's ready, but then maybe someday it'll be ready and we'll add it to the description so you can check it out for yourself. But Kat, thank you so much for waking up before everyone else in the world to chat with me today. I really appreciate it
Happy
and
to.
great talking to you.
Great talking to you too.
All right. Take
All right.
care.
Thank you. Bye.